Welcome back, runners. This is a mental dump of everything I learned during the server slam to prepare you for the full release of Marathon. There is no particular order here. It is just whatever order the gigabytes of video footage I had was in. So we can range from easy topics like how to start a solo queue, which by the way, multiple people commented on my last video that they didn't even realize solo queue was a thing now and you could actually just verse other solo players. So from easy topics like that to more obscure topics like trace status to even like mini guides like how to complete the lockdown event. I tried to get the most appropriate footage, but I am making this video between the server slam finishing and the release of Marathon, so I can't go back and record anything. Of course, in the full release of Marathon, some of the things may have changed, but I think overall this will be a pretty relevant guide for you. Enjoy, a like and a comment, be greatly appreciated. It took a lot of time. You can see it's now dark. You're gonna watch my camera in the footage below change from nighttime to daytime as I've been doing this all day. Watch live here on YouTube or on Twitch, and join the Discord to meet other runners. All right. A weapon's rarity is determined by the rarity of the weapon mods. For example, 2 green mods and a purple mod on this SMG is making the gun a blue rarity. Removing the mods drops and removes the rarity from the gun itself. There are lots of important things to take away from this. A single purple mod does not make it a purple rarity weapon. So when you are looting, always scan the weapon mod UI to check for any sneaky mods on there. Find base weapons that you like and extract with them. I think when I was first playing this, I was like, oh, that weapon's no good because it's just, you know, a common color. It's just gray. Well, that's incorrect. I need to look for weapons I actually like, because when I get them back to my vault, I'm just going to chuck the mods on them and the rarity is going to increase. For weapons you don't like, strip the mods off them and take them back to base. This is a bit clunky. You have to equip the weapon, like you got to have it in your hands, and then hold down whatever keybind you have for removing the mod. You'll see it in the little menu there. And then you can dump the base weapon. If you loot a player in the game and their weapon just evaporates into credits, this is why. Trace status. Each time this item is looted from a hostile runner, its trace status is reduced by 1. If an item's trace status would reach 0 when looted, it is not looted, but converted to credits instead. Once you've unlocked your free daily items from the factions, like shield charges and patch kits, make sure you actually claim them from the armory. I don't know if the armory refresh timer is the same as the daily reset, or if it refreshes multiple times a day. Regardless, don't leave free items unclaimed each day. During a match, there are events that can happen, some of which will be specific to certain maps. These events will most likely give you a significant gear increase early game while your factions are still low in level. Dire Marsh had an event called Lockdown. When it spawns, you get a notification on the screen, and it can also be seen on the map. I've heard people say that you need to clear enemies to force the spawn, but from my testing and playing the game, it seemed to randomly occur between 15 and 20 minutes remaining on the clock. I think this is to reward players who are still in the raid. For this event, you need the green sachet consumable, antivirus, otherwise you'll just take damage as soon as you enter the red force field. The antivirus buff can be seen above your health bar. You go to the center blue beam, find a keycard nearby, it's usually just around the outside, and insert it to begin the event. Now, if you have plenty of antivirus, you can complete the event with the shield up. This will actually stop other teams from third-partying you because they can't get to you unless they also came equipped with antivirus. If you are short on antivirus, there will be a corrupted drive highlighted in the area nearby. Collecting this and placing it in the terminal near the blue beam will actually drop the lockdown shield, allowing you to clear the waves of enemies without having to use your antivirus. But of course, other players can now enter the area and start attacking you. To increase your rewards, you have to complete lockdown 3 times in a row. Once you've completed it once, it will spawn somewhere else on the map. I think this is also why it spawns late in the game, because I always failed it because I didn't have enough time. So you have to just clear the enemies as quick as you can. Another tip related to lockdown. Don't do what I did here. If you're in the zone when the event starts, it will absolutely wreck you. So make sure you start outside of the zone. Make sure you have a triage on your team, which was me in this case. Make sure that each of your teammates has a med bot indicated by the little icon next to the teammate's name, because med bots will share consumables. So give all your antivirus to Triage. Everyone has a med bot. When you, the Triage, pop the consumable, then everyone will get the buff. This is going to be the most efficient way to use your antivirus. Running with your knife out is faster than with a weapon. I read after the server slam that the weight of the weapon impacts your mobility, meaning different guns will impact your run speed differently, but I haven't been able to test again because the server slam is over. I do know that other stats will impact you, like certain shields have stats on them that will impact your agility, meaning it will impact your run speed. In addition, bunny hopping with your knife out should be the quickest way to move, but I did stuff up this test a little bit. I needed to really test bunny hopping versus bunny hopping with a knife out versus just normally running with a knife. Also, my heat on this test for the knife side wasn't fully reset, and I didn't notice it until I fully zoomed in. But you can see the speed difference here between running with a weapon and bunny hopping with your knife. The heat difference was actually the most surprising to me, because I heard a lot of players say that the heat difference will be saved because you're bunny hopping, because you don't actually generate heat when you jump, which is true. Like when you melee, it actually consumes heat, or like generates heat, but you don't have any heat generation specifically for the action of jumping. However, the heat bar is still going up when you're in the air, which in my mind does make sense. Otherwise, you know, you're hardly touching the ground, so your heat shouldn't go up almost at all. More testing needed. You can track items by hovering over them and pressing the corresponding keybind. They will then be listed in the escape menu, and when you see them in game, whether that's in your vault or in the actual game, they'll have a green eye in the top corner. However, I don't know how to track barter items. For example, to make this shield charge, I need unstable biomass. However, if I hit track button, it just tracks the shield charge, not the biomass, and the biomass is obviously what I'm interested in, so I can craft the shield charges. At this point, you need to find the biomass first and individually track it that way. You either find it in your faction tree or you find it out in the world and then hit track. The encrypted sponsor kits are really good. You have to buy them, and there is a limit on how many you can buy per refresh. However, they are really good value for money. You're guaranteed to get 3 shield charges and 3 patch kits of a green rarity, and then 1 of each of the blue rarity. You're going to get 3 implants and 2 cores. The cores are for your specific runner, so this is a guaranteed way to get cores for your runner. In addition, it's like a mystery box. The value of the loadout is always the same. During the test, it was 1.8 thousand, but you can get varied equipment. For example, this time I actually got a blue tier primary and a common secondary. Another time I only got 1 weapon, but I got a blue backpack, which is huge. Honestly, every time I have cash, I will be buying these, just hopefully to build up how many runner cores I have specific to the runner that I actually like using. On the topic of sponsor kits, free sponsor kits will give you reputation for that faction. In addition, there is a challenge in the Codex to survive a run with a free sponsored kit. This will unlock a cosmetic reward for that runner that you just used. Sorry, I don't have any footage of that specific reward, but here's what the Codex looks like. So make sure you redeem it. If you like the base weapon of some of the free sponsored kits, make sure you collect multiple and you can store them in your vault. The cheaper enhanced sponsor kits do not give you implants or cores, but will still give you reputation for that faction. And the encrypted sponsor kits actually give you reputation for all of the factions. Some weapons or items will have a perk called compromised, which means the item will be destroyed on exfil unless you have a matter fixative in your backpack. Matter fixative looks a bit like a keycard, and I've seen them drop from higher tier UESC. Rook is a runner shell that you unlock early on. However, there are some important things to note. As a Rook, you can only enter matches solo, but you will be matched with other teams, not solo players. Well, unless they're also Rooks. You will also spawn into the match late. And finally, Rook has a set loadout, however his loadout can be upgraded through Capstones. You get these from unlocking a certain amount of nodes in a faction. Just make sure you actually click on the capstone and purchase it. Some weapons will have the Materialist perk on them. It reads, upon exfil grants additional standard and enhanced salvage. What this means is, if you have this weapon in a run with this perk and you extract with standard or enhanced, which is grey or green, salvage in your backpack, you automatically get given an additional piece of salvage. For example, if you pick up 2 pieces of unstable gunmetal in a run, which is standard salvage, the perk will give you 1 extra, so it will deposit 3 into your vault. And this occurs for every different piece of salvage in your backpack upon exfil. So if you had gunmetal and a sparkleaf, you'd get 1 additional gunmetal and 1 additional sparkleaf. If you have 2 guns with the perk, both having the Materialist perk on them, you actually get 2 additional pieces of salvage for each stack. The endgame summary screen is not very clear. It doesn't even really show you that this is happening and if this perk is even working, but we counted every bit of salvage we had in our vault. We went out and we got bits and pieces and we confirmed that it is working, and for this perk you get 1 additional piece per salvage stack. These 2 green shields are exactly the same, right? Wrong. One is called a reinforced green shield and actually only has 1 shield slot rather than 2. However, it takes half damage. I think this means that the reinforced shield is easier to recharge because technically it's only 1 bar. However, it provides the same amount of damage resistance. Point is, check items thoroughly. You're going to have to read because they can basically look identical but function differently. Claymores are incredibly powerful early game. You can unlock them for purchase from Mida, both in teams and solos. If someone breaks your shield, they will often aggressively push. I've won multiple fights with Claymores defensively. Mercy, me lord! Some weapons will have a secondary function like this rifle that has a built-in scope. It will tell you the keybind and the function it has if you hover over it in your inventory. Other times mods themselves will add a secondary function to the weapon. This gold attachment converts the shotgun to slug rounds. Your primary way of leveling factions will be contracts. However, other actions in the game also reward you with faction reputation. Go into the agent section of the faction and it will list the other things that you can do. For example, Cyber Acme gives reputation for activating TADs. In the game, when you activate a TAD, you'll see the reputation pop up like this. Talking about TADs, TADs ping surrounding enemy AI and players. The ping radius can also be increased in the faction upgrades. Certain items are event specific. For example, all these cards are related to the lockdown event on Dire Marsh. They have 0 value once you exfil and are removed. There are other similar event items like the keycards from the Outpost map. Once you've completed an event or you give up on that event, get rid of those items to make more inventory room before extracting. If you're low on inventory space, rather than leave consumables behind, just use them straight out of the container. Especially if you're about to leave an area, a cardio kick boost is great for rotating to a new area to get new loot. Your knife has 2 attacks. Light attack is left click on the mouse and heavy attack is right click. I assume heavy attack does more damage, but the other important thing is that some implants can apply debuffs with a heavy knife attack. For example, this one applies toxic. Schemas are like blueprints you can discover in your runs. It will just say schema in the title. Successfully exfilling with one of these will give you the option to purchase that weapon or item at your armory. However, there will be a limited amount of stock. Always remember to check in with the Codex. Completing the challenges in the Codex will give you loadout packages, cosmetics, and there is a lot of lore, some of which will even be voice actors so you can just listen to it if you exfil with a specific item. The faction upgrade trees are hugely important, and some of the nodes are permanent passive upgrades. That is until everyone's account is reset in the wipe, but these are huge. Like some of the early ones are like heat capacity, which is basically stamina in the game. Don't sleep on this. If you are running free kits, dump your ammo box at the beginning of the round to share the ammo with your team. Even if you are running a custom kit, if you actually coordinate with each of your team members, it's significantly cheaper for everyone to bring one ammo box as long as you're all using different ammo types, i.e. one person with light ammo, one person with heavy ammo, and one person with volts, which, to be honest, happens more often than you think. When playing as Triage, both you and your teammates can refresh your medbot drone by interacting with it. I also believe enemy players can hack it if it's just untethered and the medbot's bobbing around. And actually, I need to confirm this, but I'm pretty sure you can also shoot enemy medbots, destroying them. I think I accidentally sniped one previously. You can bring items, weapons, shields in for your friends, but if you bring in gear for your friends, it will gain the borrowed item tag, meaning if you exfil with that gear, it's returned to the original owner. I assume this is to combat real money trading, which exists in lots of extraction games. For example, people pay real money for blueprints in Arc Raiders, so this stops people paying for real money and someone bringing in that gear for them because it ends up going back to the original owner. There are lots of items in this game that look like keycards, but there are actual keycards that open locked rooms. You can find and extract with these cards and use them whenever you want. Keycards have specific locked rooms that they open. For example, this card opened this locked door in the tunnels on perimeter. And the card actually tells you where it is. It says what zone it's in, like perimeter, and it also tells you what area it's in. So this card said perimeter and then tunnels. So I knew I needed to look in that area for a locked door. When you open a locked room with the card just disappears and all the loot inside will be yours. I only found 2 cards over the server slam. One was actually for the marathon map, so I couldn't use it, and this one. When I did use this one, it was absolutely loaded. I could not fit all of it in my backpack. If you find key cards, make sure you extract with them and save them for when you have a nice empty backpack. Here's a nice easy one for you. Do not manually reload with vault weapons. You will waste whatever charge, i.e. the ammo, is left in the battery. Use as much of the battery as you can, if not use all of it before actually reloading. According to Marathon's Twitter account, crouching makes heat dissipate faster. I only tested this when you were overheated and it didn't seem like it made any difference. So it must be talking about dissipating heat normally before you overheat. So before you overheat, I guess crouch down to gain your stamina back quicker. Once again, according to Marathon's official Twitter, smoke will drop aggro of enemies. This doesn't really count as a proper test here because I'm also going invisible because of my runner, but also just know, I guess, according to the official Twitter, it has a value to non-assassin characters by dropping aggro. Weapons have different headshot multiplier values or precision multiplier values. Inspect the weapon to see a bunch of stats, including headshot multipliers and also aim assist values. According to the official Twitter account, containers on the outskirts of the map are more likely to have healing and ammo items. So if you need to restock, head to the outskirt buildings of the maps. Also, you can just find loose ammo crates sometimes around the edges of the maps. You will quickly learn that barter items are incredibly valuable. For example, unstable diodes and unstable biomasses allow you to trade for shield charges and patch kits. I always pick up these salvage parts specifically for this barter trade, so I don't have to keep wasting money buying shield charges and patch kits. Make sure you track the salvage as per my previous tip. There are a number of debuffs in the game. When you are debuffed, you will get a notification on the screen, as well as an icon in the bottom corner, and if you press tab, you can hover over the debuff for more information. Groups of debuffs can be cured with certain consumables. For example, this debuff requires the mechanic kit, indicated by the MCH on the screen, and also I think it's color coded, i.e. the red debuff is the red sachet mechanic kit. But you don't have to remember everything. There is an auto select option in your radial menu that will select the right consumable for you based on whatever debuff you have, and as long as you have that consumable, it will auto equip it for you. The easiest way to mod weapons is to inspect them and then click on the mod section. It will show you all compatible mods that you have for that weapon in each category: chips, magazine, optics, underbarrel, whatever. Here are some early thoughts on what faction upgrades I'd prioritize when you first start playing the game. Of course, I might change my mind after a bit, but these seem pretty important, and they're all actually very like starter faction upgrades. Firstly would be backpack. Bigger backpack means more loot each run. Secondly would be your heat sink. Big upgrades, passive upgrades for heat capacity. I then grabbed both the free daily shield charges and the free daily patches from New Caloric. And then of course getting a green shield would be pretty big early on. Miter, I love the Claymore, I prioritize this, and also the antivirus I think will be very big, so you can actually take on a lockdown. You can buy antiviruses without having to pay for them. Your teammates get some shared reputation when you complete contracts. You can see here when I complete this contract I get 60 reputation and my crew gets 20. For solo players you'll get an additional 20% reputation for playing by yourself. Talking about playing solo, don't underestimate the power of the knife for both PvE and PvP. Remaining silent is super important in solo queues, and by the way, lots of people didn't know this when I made my solo queue video, that you can actually play with other solo players. You can avoid teams. As long as you're not a Rook, you just need to click on the fill crew button. That will actually turn fill crew off and put you into solo lobbies. I literally thought I heard other content creators say that these things, Decons, are like safe pockets. They send items back to your vault. They do not. Do not put stuff in there unless it is the designated quest item. They are just for delivering quest items mid-match, so you don't have to escape. You can only interact with them if you have a specific contract. When you are questing or just trying to be sneaky, always check roofs for vents that you can break, and they'll allow you to drop down into the building. If you have the time, always opt to finish your opponents, as it will restore some shields. There are also certain runner perks and other items that interact with finishes. You can quickly tell which runner cores belong to which runner by the color coding and the pattern which matches their corresponding runner. Like the white cores here belong to Thief. The Destroyer core looks like the Destroyer's visor. The Vandal core has like little spiky hair like Vandal does. Something that seems counterintuitive in this game is that you can revive from eliminations. You go down first and you can like crawl around, but then you are eliminated if they finish you or just keep shooting you. And from there you start spectating your teammates. And in other games this would be game over, you can't get back in. However, in Marathon you can still be revived in this state when you are just a bag. There is a cooldown at first, so that you can't be revived immediately, but once the cooldown has been lifted you can just interact with the bag and revive eliminated teammates. Also, Triage's prime ability can revive from eliminations. Now, because there are revives from eliminations, if you don't get a team wipe, you have to assume the last enemy player is just hiding, watching and waiting for you to leave, and then they can swoop in and get the revive on their teammates. So what you can do is collect the weapons, the ammo and the health, and you should always be grabbing the health anyway, off the bodies that you have taken out. And if you don't have the inventory space, especially for things like the weapons, you can just dump it, you can just hide it somewhere else. That way, once you leave the bodies, if they do get their res, they're revived with no gun, no bullets, and no ammo. And at the very least, they're not going to come and give you any more grief. Depends how crazy you want to go here and how well you want to hide the weapons. But I think most people right now, at the beginning, are not probably going to look around the area for their weapons. They're just going to get revived and realize that there's nothing in the inventory and think that you've taken their weapon. Alright, that's it. I am cooked. This took way too long to make. A like and a comment would be greatly appreciated. I will see you on the marathon launch. Bye bye.